Hey everyone, I'm Ross Overline, the CEO and co-founder of Scholars of Finance, and I am so excited that you are beginning the Leadership Development Program. This is SOF's flagship program, and it can be a completely transformative experience. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Scholars of Finance, our theory of change, and I'm going to tell you about the Leadership Development Program. Before we do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm originally from a small farm town in Minnesota. My father was in construction, my mom was a stockbroker, and I had a middle-class upbringing. Life was normal until my parents got divorced when I was young. My mom ended up taking me to the Northeast, where I did middle school and high school. I started my undergraduate degree at Fordham University in New York City, and I finished my degree at the University of Minnesota. I've done some executive education at Stanford University and Cornell University. I actually started a consulting firm my freshman year, grew that my sophomore year. My junior summer, I landed an internship at Piper Sandler, a global middle market investment bank, on their equity research team. My first job out of college, I ended up not going to Piper full time. I was introduced to the COO of Twitter, now X, and through that introduction, I ended up getting a job as a global go-to-market lead at Twitter, quarterbacking global product launches, touching 1 billion people in over 100 countries. The job description said 7 to 10 years of experience required. And the other person they hired for that same job was coming out of Stanford's business school. I ended up pivoting out of finance because of that unique opportunity. I've been here in Silicon Valley ever since. After about a year, I left Twitter and I joined a couple of fintech companies, most recently SoFi, where I was the youngest member of the leadership team launching what is now SoFi Bank. Beyond my resume, I'd like to say that I'm a wannabe athlete, but actually a nerd with a soul. I love working out. I love music. And more than anything, I love learning. I probably read between 20 to 25 books a year across economics, philosophy, psychology, history, leadership, business, neuroscience. I study a lot because I want to understand how the world works so I can help make the world better. I personally have felt called to try to make the world better because my family and I, growing up, faced a lot of adversity. And I've always been searching for what's the one thing I can do with my career that has the highest probability of the deepest positive impact on the most people possible over the long term. And SOF became and remains the answer to that question for me. Scholars of Finance was my passion project on my nights and weekends while I was at Piper Sandler, Twitter, all the way through to SoFi. And in late 2019, I quit my job, I cut my compensation in half, and I became the full-time CEO of my startup nonprofit, Scholars of Finance, now our organization. Now, I want to tell you about Scholars of Finance and why SOF is the answer to that question of how we can make the most impact possible with our lives. Scholars of Finance is not just a student group on your campus. Scholars of Finance is a rapidly growing movement across the country of students, young professionals, and executives who believe that finance is the single greatest lever that we have for making the world better. We've raised more than $7 million. Our programs are running across more than 60 US campuses. We've impacted more than 5,000 students to date. Leading financial firms like BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Insight Partners, Bain Capital, just to name a few, are founding partners of ours. Titans of industry, from Andy Cesari, the CEO and chairman of US Bank, the 5th largest bank in America, Yasmin Salas, a partner at Goldman Sachs who runs their MedTech investment banking group, to Chris Larson, the executive chairman of Ripple, who helped create XRP, which is one of the largest cryptocurrencies on earth. All of them are huge supporters of SOF. We've had more than 1,000 professionals and executives support us as speakers, mentors, advisors, donors, because they believe in our vision here at Scholars of Finance. Our vision is a future where all finance leaders steward the world's capital to serve the greater good. I want to explain why that's so important. I want to start by inviting you to think about the problems that we want to solve in this world, whether poverty, hunger, climate change. Take 10 seconds and just think for a moment while you're sitting there watching this about what problems you want to solve. Just think for a sec. For me, mental health, inequality, are two of the biggest problems by far that I want to solve. Maybe you're thinking about climate change, improving healthcare, education. The harsh reality that we have to face is all these problems that we want to solve are global systemic problems. They will cost trillions of dollars to solve. The UN has 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Just one of them, stopping climate change, was estimated to cost between $90 and $150 trillion over 30 years. We need enormous capital to solve our problems and make the world better. Where is the money and who controls it? And what are we doing with it? Let's start by looking at how the world works today. Nonprofits first. Nonprofits can't solve these problems at speed and scale. Nonprofits only get 2 to 4% of GDP. They don't have enough capital to even put a scratch on these problems. As important as nonprofits are for mobilizing urgent capital to urgent needs. Next, look at governments. Politicians in the US, elected officials, spend 50 to 99% of their time fundraising. Governments are mired in bureaucracy, and most governments are stuck with corruption, beholden to money. Now we have to look at the private sector. Businesses. 80% of capital in the US is in the private sector. Now, a lot of people will say, well, yeah, let's become CEOs of the businesses where all the money lies. But CEOs aren't actually in charge. CEOs are employees, and they report to a board of directors who oversee the company on behalf of the shareholders and investors who own that company that the CEO is an employee of. Nonprofits, governments, and businesses all organize capital to solve our problems. But there is one system overlaid on top of all of them that controls the capital they organize. Finance. Finance allocates more than $150 trillion in assets. The three largest balance sheets in the world are the US, China, and BlackRock. Simply stated, again, finance is the single greatest lever we have for affecting positive change in the world. Where that money goes, where that capital flows, directs the evolution and efficacy of all the underlying systems. It literally determines the course of society. Imagine you're a venture investor or a private equity investor, and you've got $1 billion that you've got to put to work for your LPs. You could invest that $1 billion in e-cigarette companies that cause cancer and death. Or you could invest that $1 billion in agriculture or nutrition companies that help people that can't get healthy, nutritious food. You could invest that $1 billion into mobile gaming apps, or you could invest that $1 billion into edtech and fintech companies that actually lift people out of poverty and help them have a better life. The list goes on and on. Our vision is that every single person in the financial system, all of its leaders, are stewarding that capital and allocating it to its highest and most productive use, where it maximizes human flourishing, helps people thrive, and makes the world better and solves problems, rather than investing that capital or allocating that money into products and services that harm us and hurt us. Now, that might sound grandiose. A student organization that's going to transform the financial system that would then transform society. But what I just explained to you, that's the vision that I've shared with all of our donors, with all of our partners, and they believe in that vision. I quit my job because I believe in that vision so much. There's no other organization doing what we do. The world needs SOF. Our donors, our supporters, our partners, they believe that that you can be the answer. And that brings us to our mission. Our mission at SOF is to inspire character and integrity in the finance leaders of tomorrow. We do that by teaching 4 values: integrity, humility, compassion, and excellence, and 12 leadership principles. Within integrity, do the right thing, be accountable to your decisions, develop trust with candor. Within humility, understand yourself deeply, guard against greed and hubris, remain intellectually curious. Within compassion, serve a greater purpose, build relationships with respect, be radically generous. Within excellence, become great at what you do, work diligently, plan wisely, stay healthy and balanced. And you'll see the quote all of these values and principles require courage. As C.S. Lewis famously said, courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. Now, each week, like you did before you came here today, you will read our 7 Sigma culture. That document explains all 12 of our principles in depth and how we can become 7 Sigma, or 1 in a million leaders who are prepared for the heights of leadership and finance. We teach these values and principles not only to help you go into finance as future leaders and allocate capital to its highest, most productive use, but also to minimize the risk in our financial system. Movies like Wolf of Wall Street and recent events like Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX paint a picture of the worst actors in finance. It gives the entire industry a bad reputation. That's turning many of our best future leaders away from the industry where they can arguably do the most good. And after years of studying the financial system, what we've learned at SOF is it only takes a handful of bad actors or selfish and greedy people to take down the entire financial system, like we saw in 2008 during the Great Recession. We can't have that happen again and again. We need leaders in these positions of power that we can trust to do the right thing and steward the system. And becoming those leaders isn't an overnight thing. F. Martin said it best. He was a partner and the co-founder of Goldman Sachs's technology investment banking division. One time he came in to speak to our staff and he said, and I quote, "I love Scholars of Finance because you're developing character right now so that in 15 years from now, when you need it, you have it. When you're making a multi-$100 million decision and there's great temptation or even pressure to do the wrong thing, you will do the right thing because you'll have built the integrity and the courage necessary to withstand the test." Scholars of Finance is designed to help you begin that lifelong process of cultivating integrity, humility, compassion, and excellence to the level required to become the next generation of financial executives that make this system the best it can be. Our dream as we grow Scholars of Finance is that we help shape and prepare tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of future leaders like you to enter finance and rise the ranks, ascending to positions of power where you can actually influence and affect real change. And it requires every single one of us here to do our part and prepare. That's why we're here. I want to dive into the LDP. The LDP is our flagship program. This is an 8-week program. Each week, you'll have between 2 and 5 hours of discovery exercises of pre-work. And then you'll come here for 2 hours of group discussion. The pre-work and the group discussion are both incredibly important. Both are the hard work that you need to do to become the next generation of finance leaders. And I'll explain that more. I want to dive in to the objectives of the LDP, what I sincerely hope you get out of it. There are 4 objectives of the LDP. And the first is to introspect and grow. Now, look at this graph on the screen. Look at both lines. Either of these lines could be you in the LDP, depending on how much you apply yourself and how much effort you put in. Look at the red line first. It gradually grows and then it plateaus after 30 years old and it stops it going up. Let's say that's me. I'll bite the bullet here. Assume I'm in your LDP. I come, I don't really do the pre-work. I don't watch the videos. I don't do the journaling exercises. I use AI to write all my answers for me, which, by the way, is not allowed in Scholars of Finance because the journaling and writing exercises are designed to help you do really important self-reflection that AI can't do for you. So let's say when I come to the group, again, I'm the red line. When I come to the group discussions, I'm texting or I have my laptop open and I'm doing classwork. I'm after the session, I leave. I don't even think about this. I'm just on to my other classwork. I am not going to grow at all from this LDP experience. But you could be a different story. Let's assume you are the blue line. Notice the blue line is this just explosive exponential curve. That is you. If you come here every week, you pay attention, you listen, you engage, you're thinking critically, you have no distractions, you're locked in. When you do the prep work each week, you don't put it off to the last minute, you don't rush it, you literally carve out 3, 4, 5 hours right after the group session to look at the pre-work for this week, start getting ahead of it, really think through it. Every week you come here, you are going to become smarter, wiser, you're going to make better decisions, and ultimately you will be far more successful as a result. Over time, that difference in our behavior and attitude and approach to this and to life in general is going to lead to a massive delta between us. One day, I will be working for you if I get a job in finance in the first place. You'll be on the partner track, on the C-suite track. You'll be changing the world. You will grow and grow and grow. But there's this important question you have to ask. What direction are you growing in? That leads us to the second objective. The second objective of the LDP is to choose your mission and values, to decide who you are and what you stand for. Carl Jung, a famous psychologist, said, "If you don't know who you are, the world will tell you." Many people around you are just passive products of their environment. Our mission, our values, our goals, our behaviors, we pick those up through our family, through our friends, through what we see in the media, on TikTok. And most college students, myself included when I was in college, we haven't thought really deeply about our mission, our values, who we are and what we stand for. You may think you've done a lot of reflecting on who you are and what you stand for, but wait until you finish the LDP and you're going to realize just how complex you are as a person and how much time and energy and effort and work and exploration you can do to understand yourself. And very importantly, making the decision for ourselves, what our mission is, what our values are, our principles, who we are, how we act, what we stand for. That is one of the most liberating and empowering things we can do in our lives. It gives you strength and confidence and clarity. You know your path. You're not wandering aimlessly. You're not insecure anymore. You're secure because your sense of self-worth is no longer rooted in what other people think of you. Your sense of self-worth is rooted in your mission, in your values, in your principles. I'm not trying to overhype the LDP here. The LDP is only 8 weeks and your life is long. The LDP is designed to help you set a foundation for a lifelong process of growth. We have worked with the world's top experts from psychology, leadership, finance, a number of fields to make this the most impactful evidence-based program we possibly can. But you have to commit to this process of growing as a leader for the rest of your career and your life. That's the third objective, to help you form habits for lifelong growth. If you've never heard of the 10,000 hour rule, the scientist did trying to understand experts and masters of their craft. And what he found that was common among all of them was that they've spent at least 10,000 hours practicing. Now at SOF, what we want you to understand is that you need to spend hundreds and thousands of hours becoming a high-performing, purpose-driven, principled leader in finance to rise the ranks. You're going to practice really important habits when you do your discovery exercises each week before the group discussion. You're going to practice things like journaling, reflection, seeking feedback, synthesizing your thoughts. You're literally going to write your mission, values, and principles, right? And reflect on them a number of times. And then when you come to these group discussions each week, you're going to be practicing things like vulnerability, candor, accountability, that are also really important habits to build to become a future leader. And that last point brings me to the fourth objective of the LDP, which is to build a tight-knit community to grow together. Research shows that when you're committing to a habit change or behavioral change, and you do it with someone else, that increases your probability of evolving and success in the habit change by more than 50%. So you coming here, being engaged in these conversations and making friends in your cohort in SOF is going to further support and accelerate your growth and cement your odds of success. So come here, show up, be on time, engage fully, make friends here. Almost everybody that does the LDP makes friends here. When you start to get into the conversations each week, you'll understand why. You're skipping the small talk and you're going to get right into the real talk. We're going to talk about our fears, our insecurities, our weaknesses, our challenges, our obstacles, in addition to talking about our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations, our goals, our strengths, our passions. All that's going to come out here. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and each other. So support each other in the process. And we've had thousands of students tell us this was an amazing experience. It can be the same thing for you. In conclusion, there are 4 objectives of the LDP. Number 1, to introspect and grow. Number 2, to choose your mission and values. Number 3, to form habits for lifelong growth. And number 4, to build community, to grow together. The LDP can also be a super fun experience. You make friends, you share laughter, you make memories. If you have the right attitude and the right approach, you're gonna have a great time. So really, over the next 8 weeks, do this for you. Each week, come here. When you're doing the discovery exercises, just carve out that time. Consider this a break from the busyness of life. Consider the LDP your time each week to step back, think deeply, and prepare yourself for your best life ahead. If you do that, you're going to be far more likely to be successful in your career. You are going to be far more equipped to be a future finance leader, and acting with integrity, humility, compassion, excellence, you're going to live a life that you can be proud of every step of the way. Can't wait. I'm really excited for you. Welcome to Scholars of Finance. Welcome to the Leadership Development Program. I hope you have a great session today, and I cannot wait to hear how transformative the LDP is for you. Cheers.